This is the Fierce Heart Alliance. Our focus is spirituality with purpose, exquisite self-care, and conscious community. Hi, I'm Summer Sophia Moon, and I've come here to heal myself and chew bubblegum. And guess what? I'm all out of bubblegum. So join me and my special guests as we share and learn how to love ourselves fiercely through self-care and explore the wisdom of the harmonic virtues. These virtues are based on the laws of the universe and channeled wisdom to cultivate more resiliency, purpose, and harmony through self-care and self-awareness. By listening, you are now a fierce heart too. Welcome to the Fierce Heart Alliance. This is the Fierce Heart Alliance, featuring the harmonic virtues, a self-reflective practice to understand virtues based on the laws of the universe, ancient teachings, and channeled wisdom. We can apply these virtues to everyday life to fully participate in our personal evolution by cultivating resiliency, purpose, and harmony through self-awareness and self-stewardship. Hi, I'm Summer Sophia Moon, and I've come here to heal myself and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. So join me and my special guests as we share and learn how to love ourselves fiercely through self-care, explore the wisdom of the harmonic virtues, and grow our conscious community together. By listening, you are now a fierce heart too. Welcome to the Fierce Heart Alliance. Before we begin today's topic, I'd like to say thank you to our listeners. You're always welcome here. Thank you to our ancestors, spirit guides, and friends who are assisting us today. May these words be a force for good and timelessly infused with light and held in the frequency of rose quartz and spread healing and peace around the world. May it connect to both our consciousness and unconsciousness for the highest and most benevolent outcomes for all. If there's any words left unsaid, we trust in spirit to make things right and let it gently ease into our consciousness as necessary for understanding in our own time, in our own way. And so it is. Thank you. Hey, Fierce Hearts. This week is our self-care episode, and my guest is Chivito Cowa. Chivito is a traditional rites of passage guide, storyteller, and mythologist who shares from direct experience of living with and being initiated into both honored Indigenous and Eastern Yogic lineages. He facilitates Tree of Totems cultural community here in the Pacific Northwest that's devoted to restoring these ancestral practices, knowledge, and ways of gathering that we may grow back, a culture that breathes life and inspiration into us. Thanks, Chivito, for being here.
Oh, I'm honored.
Well, so what is your experience with self-care and why is it important to you?
Oh, yeah, self-care is a way of really honoring like the gifts of life for me. It's like what's wanting to come through me. And if I'm out of rhythm with myself, if I'm not taking care of myself, then I find I'm not really able to be that channel for life. And then it takes so much more effort for me to try to do this work. And I'm being broken down instead of broken open into the gifts and the beauty of it all.
And so what have some of your blocks been to self-care?
I'm a workaholic. I love working so much because I'm so passionate about it, and I will want to push it to the very threshold of that. And there's always a consequence for doing that, because then I'm forced to take time off in a way that I have to restore instead of having a routine of like being connected and loving on myself. I can continue the work in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Well, how does self-care relate to the concept of transformation and the virtue that we're talking about this month is perpetual transmutation of energy and change. And so how does that connect?
Absolutely. So that aspect of transmutation, that sense of awakening into those gifts, it's it's a quality of listening. Like, it's recognizing we can't force our transmutation. We can't will our transmutation. And the more you try to will your transmutation or what have you, that transformation of growing, the longer it's going to take. It's so much longer, so much more effort, so much more dark descents of soul that you just don't need to do. Right? The whole path is really just about listening. It's recognizing we are a hollow bone for spirit to sing through us. So you go to the Eastern traditions, it's about being the non-doer, right? And this is what I call earning entrance into the mysteries. And a lot of modern people, they don't like hearing that we have to earn entrance into these teachings and knowledge. I think it's like, oh no, I'm just privileged to this. But the way we earn entrance is simply by becoming present. It's about we earn entrance by becoming part of the conversational nature with our own development, with the rhythms and the routines that are moving through us. The Brujeria Mexico, they call it the river beneath the river, right? The underlying current that's moving through us. There's a story being lived through each of us. And when we attune to that, then we realize that our task is really about listening. How do we cultivate deeper listening skills? And when we do that, then we are being informed with how to move forward. And so if we are wanting to practice and cultivate ourselves to be broken open, and that's an important aspect. It's not necessarily cultivation of developing into, it's actually being broken open into, which a lot of modern people aren't really aware of. But what's holding us from that transmutation is our own limitations, which are the stories and the beliefs, that we have taken on. And when we break those spells and those enchantments and move into a new paradigm, there's healing required. And so can we be a part of that? And to do so is consistently re-arrive in a place of presence where we can listen no matter how deep in the fire we may be.
It's beautiful. Do you have any self-care suggestions, actionable things for people to do to cultivate self-care and presence for themselves?
Yes. The primary one is, again, this is coming into a space of recognizing, self-care is a very personal thing. And depending on our lifestyle, whose lifestyle, where you live, if you're in an urban environment or in the country or what have you. And so self-care really comes down to not so much how you're tending to your body. I mean, that's part of it. But when you want to go to the very root of it, it's like, how present can you be? Can you consistently arrive into a space of presence? Because when you're in a place of presence and you're just able to fully be here, to be aware of being aware of here, then you're actually attuned to what your needs are. In Ayurveda, we say like increases like, right? And so in any given moment, you can, if you're present enough, you can say, okay, how am I right now? And how do I want to be, right? And then you say, what will increase that likeness? If you are in a place of presence, then you're tapped into your authentic intuition. If you're not in a place of presence and you ask that, you're like, oh, something really sweet sounds great, or, there's other food. Depending on your emotional, energetic state, you're going to have cravings that are going to feed that state. You're going to crave activities, conversations, movies that are directly reflected to that state, because that state becomes what we call in the Norse tradition an egregore, a thought form. Like a living entity that it wants to be fed, so it wants more of that. But when you can craft a space of presence, then you come back into the body's intuition of saying, what do we truly need? And you might like, oh yeah, this sounds good, but like, do you really want that? They'll say, no, actually I want this. I want some quiet time instead of binge watching Netflix or something. Like, sit beneath the tree, right? And listen to the birds. And so the more you craft space just to arrive into a place of presence throughout your day, the more you are consistently staying in a place of attunement. And then you are empowered to make informed choices versus the other. Yeah.
It kind of sounds like you're talking about getting in tune with your senses and then from there acting on it in a conscious way.
Absolutely. Yeah, because self-care isn't, it's not what we're doing to our bodies. Like self-care is like, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
How are you feeling in this moment? How are you feeling about your life? How are you feeling about your choice? That's real self-care. Everything
Yes.
else is just actions.
Yeah.
Right. And we often think, oh, because I'm going to the gym every day, I'm getting my massages, or I'm doing all these things, that's self-care. It's like, well, not if your mind's not right.
Right. Yes, exactly.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that I think there's such a misconception about self-care and that it is that, spa day and it's got to be super expensive and all this other stuff and it's got to be all these expensive products. And no, it is real tangible things of where are you right now in this moment and what are your feelings, what do you actually want deep inside, do you need a glass of water, do you need a hug, do you need more sleep, do you need to look at your schedule and plan accordingly so you can get more sleep or that you can have more quality time with friends and do the things that fill your cup rather than deplete your cup.
Right. Absolutely. And I would also like to bring that back to, like, instead of saying, do I need more sleep? Do I need these things? It's just saying, what will nourish a space of presence?
Well said.
Yeah. Right. And because it's really that simple.
It is.
Like, what will increase the likeness of presence in your life right now? Because changing moment by moment. Now, Ayurveda, we don't think of health as a static state. It's not something we arrive into. It's an ongoing conversation, moment by moment, as the energies of the day change, the weather changes, the movements of our lives, the political environment. All these things are affecting us. So within this moment, within where you are, what will cultivate a space of presence? Because then we realize health isn't to be without conflict. It's not to be without pain. It's not to be without imbalance. Imbalances are a part of health.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be imbalanced
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally. And if you're not, then you're going to have some deep shadow work to do, because that's what we call sattva syndrome. You're attached to being in a state of sattva, a state of spiritual enlightenment and connection and all those things. And that's like killing so many modern people, because once they realize they can't hold it, then they begin that dark descent of soul, and they have so much shame and so much criticism and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But really just comes down to, within the moment, in your grief, in your struggle, if you do have a physical imbalances, like our body has its own karma, like it has to go through its things. Can you just be present with what is in that space? That's true self-care. And it's not about how well we look or sleep and all the other things. It's just like, can you be present with what is? That's self-care.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts about self-care?
Um, the only thing I would share is, fall in love with the story that you are in, like that's being lived through you. No matter where you're at in your life, just relish it, savor it. Like you're living an epic life. We call that your personal myth. And when you just fall in love with your own experience, it's incredible. As Angelus Arian would say, when a person was become disheartened, a shaman would often ask them 4 questions. And one was like, when did you stop dancing?
Mm.
When did you stop singing? When did you become uncomfortable with the sweet territory of silence? Right. And then she would ask, when did you fall out of enchantment with story, particularly your own? And so if you can relish being in the story that you're in and learn to dance and sing and be in silence, then that self-care will be organic and natural, personal to you. Oh,
Indeed. Thank you so much, Chivito.
yes. Oh, thank you.
Well, that's our episode for this week. Feel free to leave any comments you might have about your self-care and what it means to you. Please like and subscribe. It helps me keep this party going. And you can follow the Fierce Heart Alliance on Facebook and Instagram for weekly inspiration. Next week is our charity episode featuring Rewild. Restoring and protecting the wild is the most effective solution to interconnected climate, biodiversity, and human health crises. Take care, Fierce Hearts. Till next time.